So we saw, okay. So what did we see in any chant? Session was Karma Yoga, devotional service is better. So yeah, there was a question between Karma Yoga or Karma Sannyasa. What do we do? Okay, so today we are doing chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga. It will be mostly on the Ashtanga Yoga. Okay. And I didn't start my video. Okay. Right. And so let us pay obeisance to Sri Radha Govinda. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Nanaka Shalakaya Chakshumitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Vintam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadotam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Vittamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpaturabhyascha Kripa Sindhu Abhayevacha Patitam Nam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschadesha Tarine Jai Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we saw yesterday which was better, Karma Sannyas or Karma Yoga. And then living in this world, how we can do our duty unattached to the material, that is live like a lotus leaf. How can a person see with equal vision towards all living entities? And also we saw how the different sensual pleasures that can entangle the living entity. So, and also we saw what is a peace formula. So this was how the verses were distributed. And the peace formula was, we saw that the Lord is the enjoyer. He is the proprietor of everything. So he is the one who is entitled to enjoy. And he is the Maheshwaram, controller of all, even the demigods and everything, and all the universe, all the jivas, is the controller. And he is a well-wisher, because he wants all of us to go up. If he is not well-wishers, he wouldn't have made this material world for us to enjoy. And he is all the time within us as Paramatma, and guiding us, but it depends on us whether we turn to him or not. So for devotees, he is always guiding. For non-devotees, he will give them what they desire depending upon how much they deserve to it. So this is the, we saw in the thing. And in one of the things, he also talks about yoga, which is expanding in this chapter. So here in this chapter, we are giving an understanding of the nature of the mind. See, we always think now how to control, why the mind is chanchal and everything. So he is talking more about the nature of the mind. And then he expands and describes this Ashtanga Yoga, eightfold process of yoga. So Ashtanga means 8 process. When what happens if you do not attain complete perfection of yoga and the yoga ladder? Okay, this is what we are going to see today. So first of all, what is yoga? I think all of us have some conceptions, no? What yoga is and all that. And like this, people we have seen Naga Babas like that, they're doing a lot of mystic powers they have, hiding themselves in the mud and things. So, and there are other versions also, like, in the office, they do some yoga practice. And it has become like a mundane express and a dollar business, actually. Is the name of yoga, in the name of yoga, they do lot of business, and there's a lot of propagandas are there. And, the different versions, all in coming with Veer Yoga, this yoga, and even books are there. And in Vedic times, in Satya-yoga, we saw Hiranyakashipu, when he did tapas for so many years, his body had become asphyxiated and the handle has built across. But today it has become like anything they say it's for physical and mental health, and lots of books also are there, all in the name of yoga. Okay, yoga for weight loss, yoga for business, yoga this. But is this the thing which we are trying? What is the actual system? What is the actual process? Is what here we are going to see. Okay, so, and we are there, and this is not something new, but we are seeing it around us and all over the world also. And even you have a yoga day also. So what is a true yogi? How does Krishna define that? Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashrita Karma Palam Karyam Karma Karoti Ya Sa Sannyasi Cha Yogi Cha Na Nirna Chakrahi. That is, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one is unattached to the fruits of the work, and who works as is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not the one who lights no fire and performs no duty. So, karyam, that means he is doing his duty to serve the Lord. It is my duty, and with that he will be serving the Lord. So that is the person who is a true yogi, not the person who just takes to all this yogic process, but not focusing on the Lord. Okay, he's not have any intention. His only intention is to get some mystic powers. That is also some kind of selfish motive. Okay, even people who try to do this process to get some mystic power, and there are some people who will be doing this to merge with the Lord. So they all have some self-interest. So they are not doing it with as a duty to serve the Lord. So who can become a yogi? So Am Sannyasam iti prahu yogam tam vidhi pandavas nahi asanasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. That is, what is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga. That is, yoga is nothing but linking oneself with the Supreme. That is the true meaning of yoga. But here today we have all perverted different, they give their own meanings, and they have a lot of physical exercise. O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. So unless he renounces it, he is not a true yogi. And how he can be elevated? He says, a person is said to be elevated in yoga when having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities. That means he will be there in the material world, he'll be doing the actions, but he is not involved, saying that I am the doer. He is doing it all for the cause of the Lord. So then that is the true yogi, and he is supposed to think. And what is there underlining in all that? Mind control is mandatory. And even for doing Ashtanga yoga practice, mind control is mandatory. So mind control. So what is this mind? So then here Krishna explains that nature of the mind can become your enemy or your friend. How? For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. Why so? Because the mind is something like, it takes the information from all our senses and it processes it. Okay, and it becomes a lot of memories and experiences all there in our mind storehouse. And that will act on us, when we are in any situation. You're like an angel, if you're a confused person and it will be pulling you. If you have not controlled it, it will say, no, you do it this way. Or something is, no, that person did something, so you should retaliate. So there'll be a lot of advices will be coming in this way and that way, and many times it might confuse you. But if you're focused on the Lord, that you're in Krishna consciousness and you're doing only for the thing, then your mind is already streamlined to one direction. So you're in that mode of goodness. So there it may not be so much of confusion. Otherwise, it will be pulling you in this direction, and that it won't be a friend, but it will be a more like an enemy, because it will cause you a lot of distress. So now we were talking about karma yoga in the last few chapters. So now alternative karma yoga is Ashtanga yoga. Yes. Now Krishna is going to explain to us what this Ashtanga yoga is in the coming verses. It has got 8 processes: Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana. Then only you reach the Samadhi, where you are fully in the absorption of the Lord. So in all this, you keep yogic is the goal of life is to realize the Lord in your heart. Okay. So the first thing is Yama is regarding the external disciplines. How do you sit out and thing. And Niyama is what is the internal discipline you have to follow. And the postures. What should be, how should you sit and how should you posture is also matters. Then your breath control, your breathing process. Then finally you come how you're convinced of your process, and then you come to the withdrawal of senses, then concentration, dhyana. So let us go into each, and all that, it needs purification by Nishkama Karma, because unless you're completely detached from the senses, you won't be successful in reaching to the Samadhi stage. So the first one, Yama, is in the verses are already indicated here, so you can look into the verse and the purport also. So first and foremost, he should live, Yama means where's the external thing. So he should live in a secluded place and should always control his mind. Okay. So that means he should, in fact, today's world, it is difficult to find a secluded place thing, but in those days, in Satyuga, it was possible. So they have to live alone in a secluded place and should always control his and focus on his goal. That is, he wants to reach. Then Niyama, he should be temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation. He should not eat more, nor should he eat less, nor should he sleep more, nor he should sleep less. And everything, working and recreation, everything should be temperate in his habits. So, I mean, that also matters. If you sleep more, then you won't be able to do your yogic practice. And these are things which is very important, to be temperate in these habits. Then asana, how you stay, so you have to lay the kusha grass on the ground, cover it with a deer skin. The seat should be neither too high nor too low, and should be situated in a sacred place. I mean, it should not be in a gandik, dirty place. Otherwise you won't be very focused. You won't be spiritual. One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stay steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, because that is also important. You should be completely free from sex life, and one should meditate upon it. So these are the things which you have to follow in this Ashtanga. Then one more thing is your practice. You're stopping the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming breath. That is the pranayama. That's the thing. And then only you can remain in trance. So these are the things: eating, sleeping, then recreation. That means you have to control your sense, sex life and other material enjoyments, all that. And you should live in secluded alone so that you won't be distracted. And how you have to sit straight and everything, and focus on your breathing control. Okay, these are the things. Then once you're convinced and with that knowledge, then you to come to the stage of pratyahara, where you are cessation of material existence. So these are the first 4 you have to practice. Then slowly you come to the stage of the 5th stage. Many a time we may not in this physical life, they might only be doing in the 4 practices. They might not even come to the 5th step. That is pratyahara, cessation of material existence. Then comes to the stage of dharana, where you are already disciplined your mental activities and you're situated in trance, because you are thinking of the Lord and you're devoid of all the material desires. He is said to have attained yoga. So that is the thing. And it takes a lot of years of practice under some guidance. Then you come to the dhyana stage. where dhyana stage is described as is like a lamp in a windless place. No, it doesn't waver at all. It will be steady, the lamp, the thing. So then stage, the transcendentalist, his mind is controlled, remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. He is on the self-realization path. Then finally, when he is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty, then he is free from all miseries arising from material contact. Miseries arising, no, we have threefold miseries, right? Miseries to our body, like diseases or mental diseases, or from the other living entities. No, we have like, people now, the wars are going from other entities, and also from the nature, like, we'll have floods, earthquakes and all that. So he'll be free from all the miseries because he is not shaken by that. He is nothing. So that is when he is fully absorbed in the law. So these are the 8 steps which is involved in Ashtanga Yoga. So once he practices that, then he is supposed to have achieved the perfection stage. So after hearing the detailed thing, there were about 30 verses going on. Then Arjuna was very perturbed. He says, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, pramati balavad dritam, tashyana nigraha manye vayo eva sudashka. See, mind is restless, is chanchalam, and astiram is unsteady and flickering, and it's always agitated and turbulent. It can be, it may not listen to you, you are stuck into some view, means you are not able to move from that. And it's more difficult than controlling the will. So for Arjuna to tell this, who was like, you could shoot an arrow at the man, in the Draupadi Sambara. For him to say this, it is really a difficult process. It's not, to achieve such a success, perfection is not that easy. He says it's priceless, Anjali. So what does Krishna say for it? Blessed Lord said, O mighty son Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by constant practice and study. See, one thing which we see from throughout here in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will never say, whatever I'm saying, you just listen and don't argue or anything. Even when Arjuna in the 2nd chapter, he says, if I see killing my grandfather or my guru, it will be painful to me. That time Krishna says, yes, it will be painful. It's not that, but like you have to tolerate the seasons, like summer season, it will be hot, winter, like that. You have to tolerate the distress and happiness together. It is not that you must have only happiness all the time. You will have to have both. Will come. So he will always, he doesn't say no. He will agree and he will give the reason how to curb it. So here also is telling it is difficult. It's not saying it is not difficult. It is difficult to curb the restless mind. Okay, but only by constant practice and by detachment. You have to have convinced that this will work, and you have to utilize intelligence and have to follow the process, and you have to detach yourself from the sense enjoyment, sense gratification. So he says, for one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. So the spiritual path is not that easy, it is difficult. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by right means, he be assured of success. So if he does it, control it in the right means, then it is success is there. That is my opinion. So Krishna says that is mine. So only by abhyasa and vairagya, that only that will help us, otherwise nothing will help us here. So he says that is my opinion. Then now another question comes into the mind of Arjuna. What is the destination of someone who failed in achieving success in yoga? That means he would have practiced it, but he might not have completely gone to the last stage, the Samadhi stage. He might be practicing and practicing, still from the practice, but he would have gone only to some amount of the procedure. So Krishna says, after many, that means because he has been in this path of spiritual thing, he will go to higher planet, that is to the Svargaloka and all that, and those higher planets, and he will have, after many years of enjoyment on those planets, of pious living entities, then he will be born into a family of righteous people or into a family of riches, because he still won't be free from cycle of birth and death. So after enjoying the whatever the punya and thing he has achieved, he will have to come back to Mrityuloka, to this earth, and he will be born in a righteous people or in the family of rich aristocracy because of his advancement in this yogic practice. Or if he has advanced too much, then he will take his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. But verily such a birth is rare in this world, but that is also possible. Okay, so now he is telling us that how they it won't be vain. I mean, whatever the progress you have made in the spiritual path will always be there in your credit. It will never go in vain. So it is carried out in your next birth. Okay, so with the subtle body, as I said, so that will be there with us all the time. So this is what is been confirmed here by the Lord. Then, who is the greatest yogi? We know Narada is the greatest yogi, and that's a true example, of course. So, and of all the yogis who always abide in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga, and is the highest of all. So, of all the yogis who is all the time thinking of him with great faith, worshipping him in loving service, is most intimately, that's how he reciprocates with the Krishna reciprocates with those transcendentalists, okay, and with me in yoga, and is the highest of all. So this is what we learned about Ashtanga yoga and how the great yogi is. Okay, so we saw Karma yoga, Jnana yoga, Ashtanga. This is how the process is there in the Vedic, in the Vedas. No? It starts off with Karma yoga, then Jnana, then gives Upasana yoga, and then only we go to the Bhakti yoga. But if you are in the Krishna consciousness, that means you're all the time meditating on the Lord. See, Krishna consciousness is you're situated on the platform on this. That is, you're meditating in the beginning itself. We are taking to chanting of Hare Krishna mahä-mantra, then taking its prasad, then trying to do all the activities favorable to the Lord. And if it's not favorable, we don't do that. So Krishna consciousness thing is already you're in the Bhakti yoga stage there. So in that platform. So that is much easier to do that rather than taking to this Ashtanga yoga practice, where you have to follow all the 8 processes, yama, niyama, pratyahara, and pranayama, and all that, asana, and all that you have to do. Otherwise, you can just take to this Krishna consciousness, which is what is recommended for Kali Yuga. So that is what we are going to give you the references now. So yoga for spiritual practices for Kali Yuga. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto, 3rd chapter, 52th verse, where it gives the different yoga practices for different yugas. That is, in Satya Yuga, it was meditation on Lord Vishnu. Their duration of life was 1,000 years. They used to spend thousands of years to meditating on the Lord Vishnu, and they were able to be succeeded. And it was possible also. And there was not so much of distractions, and but in Treta Yuga, they were doing elaborate, expensive sacrifices. Daksha and all used to do a lot of yagnas. Then in Dwapara Yuga, it was elaborate temple worship. But for Kali Yuga, chanting holy names of the Lord is the recommended one. That is the thing. And it is easy to take the lift. Lift is what, instead of going by staircase, going from Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, then Ashtanga Yoga and thing, it's nice to be in Krishna consciousness. You are already in the Bhakti Yoga platform. Like you are taking the lift straight away to that platform and to wait. So what does this mantra does to us? Mantra means is mind. It works man plus tra. That is, it delivers us from the mind. Is able to focus on the mind to peaceful thing. And if you do it on your own, it is known as japa meditation. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Or if you do with a group, it is known as Sankirtana. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare. So they used to do it in the streets also. That's a group. It's known as Sankirtana. So the scriptural references. So it is not a thing given by ISKCON, but it is the scriptures. So we'll give you the scriptures. So it is in the Narayana Samhita, it says, in the age of Kali, people should simply chant the holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in Srimad Bhagavatam and the 12th canto, 3rd, there it says, my dear king, although Kali Yuga is full of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. It is that simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mahä-mantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental. See, we have to be in the transcendental form. If you don't do that, we'll be always in the material platform and we'll be still what you call entangled into this cycle of birth and death. So to go to that platform, it is this chanting of Hare Krishna mahä-mantra will help. And in Kalishana Upanishad, it says, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Iti Shodashkam Namnam Kalmasha Nashana. Nata Paratopya Sarva Vedeshu Drishya. That is, after searching through all the Vedic literature, one cannot find a method of religion more sublime for this age than the chanting of Hare Krishna. That's what it says in this Upanishad. And then in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, 17th chapter 21, it says, Hare Nama Eva Kaivalam, Kalo Nasti Eva Gati Ranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way. Nasti Eva Nasti Gati Ranyata. Then, in Bhagavad Gita, in 10th chapter, 25th verse, Krishna says, of the sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names, japa. Okay? Yajnasa japa yajyo asmi. So how do we do the do's of chanting? So we just chant the Panchatattva mantra before starting to chant the Hare Krishna mahä-mantra, because we are taking the blessings of all these Acharya, Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivadi Adi Gaura Bhakta. So we invoke them thing, because to starting thing, we might be making a lot of offenses. So in order that every time when we start around, not every mantra, but that 108 is one mantra, isn't it? So we take one round, we start this mantra to start with that. Then I'll come back to you, Rakesh. Then we have to chant audibly, loud enough to hear the mantra, pronounce each name distinctly. Okay? Chant with respect and devotion. So we have to do that with devotion. Okay? And then pronounce each name distinctly and concentration. But you can chant in any place, sitting, walking, facing any direction. You can chant any time. You can chant either before or after taking bath. But it is recommended to chant by keeping account. If you have a mala, it is good because it will help you to focus by keeping account. Preferably on Tulsi mala having 108 pieces. It helps us to focus on it. Okay. And what are the don'ts of chanting? We should not chant only a portion of the mahä-mantra. We have to completely tell of the whole thing. And we should not chant on this Krishna beat. Okay, that's there. And we should not chant while reading a book or newspaper or watching TV, etc. That's not allowed. And what are the benefits? It now present condition, whimsical thoughts and relief from unwanted desires and drives and habits. And we instead of becoming slave to any whimsical thoughts and desires, it will avoid us. And it has given a lot of people have come out of their intoxication things. And freedom from anxiety and stress gives us peace of mind, real happiness, and of course enlightenment. And real happiness you've seen, and you see how these thing they've taken. This is in the streets of New York, and here you see it's in India, the relief from anxiety and stress. And let us see what people say, and few scripts, testimonies we are going to share. This is George Harrison. It's really a process of having realization of God. He was a true follower, though he was in the group, but he was a follower of the Prabhupada. And he was promoted even in his album, he had brought about this Hare Krishna mahä-mantra. And there are a lot of these personalities. We can go through them. And everything started happening for me when I began chanting Hare Krishna. Who was it? He was the youngest director of 3M from France. He was 29 years old when he started taking it up. And this is our Ford, Henry Ford. It's a Ford family. Chanting Hare Krishna has made a tremendous impact in life. Now he's quite old. That was in his younger time when he's given this. He's the Albert Rush Ford, owner of the Ford Motors. And he has contributed a lot of, I think, more than 300 crores for our Mayapurno, which is coming up. I've been chanting Hare Krishna for many years and never found anything more pleasurable. Mr. Desai, from leading Indian industrialist and Mafatlal Group. Chanting Hare Krishna has helped me face all the ups and downs in my life with a great confidence and peace of mind. And these are the great models who said chanting helped me give up my bad habits. It changed my vision of things. She was a Dutch model, and here is another model. By starting to chant Hare Krishna, I feel tremendous happiness. This is an army officer. My outlook towards life is more brighter, and after starting to associate with Hare Krishna devotees and chanting the mahä-mantra. Then this is from Italian. Chanting makes me feel close to God. Top furniture designer. Oh, this is a very interesting person. He says mahä-mantra significantly reduces stress, depression, and the modes of ignorance, and considerably increases mode of life. Because he was a researcher. He did this research for his thesis, and it was for his research studying the effects of chanting Hare Krishna, and it was his PhD thesis. And he did it for more than 5-6 years, and this is David Wolf. When I'm stressed out, I chant. It's one thing which charges my batteries. It clears my mind and brings me back in focus. So there are many things, and I'm nervous. I find chanting very calm. I don't get shaken up at little things. This is the last one. Chanting Hare Krishna, reading authorized books on Krishna consciousness brought me great peace. He is the Ramesh Lal, Toronto Health Program. You can also chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So what we do, these 6 chapters, I just made a nutshell. We saw all the 5 topics: Ishvara, Jiva, Karma, Prakriti, Kala. And Ishvara, we learned that 3 stages: Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan stage. And he is the proprietor, controller, well-wisher, and the knowledge, transcendent knowledge. Once you know it, we can go back to him. It's a Divya. That's what we found in chapter 4, how to go back. Then Jiva, we learned that we are the soul and not the body, and we are part and parcel of the super soul. And we have to be engaged in the service of the Lord, Supreme Lord. That's how. Then karmas, we looked at our prescribed duties, the karma, then looked at karma yoga, nishkama yoga, this time Ashtanga yoga, and we said bhakti yoga, being in Krishna consciousness, these things. And more we are going to learn about Prakriti and Kala in the coming chapters, and more on Bhakti. Bhakti yoga is going to be covered. Okay. With this, I will end my class today. Vancha kalpatru abhyascha kripa sindhu avevacha patitam nam pavanebhyo vaishnavo namo namah. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna.